مقاصدنا واغفر لنا ما مضى يا واسع الكرم.
A little housekeeping before we start. If you have any questions during this forum, please type them in the chat box. I will bring them forward during our Q&A session. Here's a few gentle reminder. Feel free to ask any questions during the Q&A session. Please make sure you mute your audio during the whole session. Thank you for being patient with the technical slips, if any. Have a great time during the session. Please fill it in the registration form provided in the chat box. Thank you.
مقاصدنا واغفر لنا ما مضى يا واسع الكرم. يا ربي بالمصطفى بلغ مقاصدنا واغفر لنا ما مضى يا واسع الكرم. يا ربي بالمصطفى بلغ مقاصدنا واغفر لنا ما مضى يا
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good afternoon everyone. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you to our forum today. As per the title, on this special occasion, we would like to have a hearty discussion about women in engineering in today's society. The aim of this forum is to help students to give exposure that the field of engineering is not only for men, but women also have their importance and role in the engineering field. For your information, this lot is backed up by our generous sponsor, IEEE Malaysia section. In general, IEEE is a technical professional organization dedicated to advancing technology for the benefit of humanity. IEEE and its members inspire a global community through its highly cited publications, conferences, technology standards, and professional educational activities. With me, Nadia, as your moderator for today. To make this forum a blessed one, I would like to invite Brother Khairul Anwar to recite the dua.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مرحوما وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل اللهم فينا ولا معنا ولا من يتبعنا شقيا ولا مطرودا ولا محروما اللهم لا إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا اللهم افتح علينا حكمتك وانشر علينا من خزائن رحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم اغفر لمشايخنا ولمن علمنا وارحمهم واكرمهم برضوانك العظيم في مقعد صدق عندك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم ربنا عليك توكلنا وإليك أنبنا وإليك المصير ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amin ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you, Brother Khairul Anwar, for the beautiful dua recitation. Now, I would like to introduce to our panelists for today. Introducing our first panelist, Dr. Nadira Jabil. She graduated from the IIUM where she obtained her Bachelor of Engineering in Electronics, Computer and Information, and Master of Science in Electronics Engineering. Gained her PhD in Biomedical Engineering from the University of Edinburgh. Currently working as an Applications Development Engineer at CTDI Europe. How are you today, Dr. Nadira? I believe that you are muted.
Thank you. Sorry, Nadia. Thanks for that. So Alhamdulillah, I'm very well. Thank you. And I hope you are also in the best of health.
Alhamdulillah. Moving on, we have Sister Rohaiza binti Abdul Malik, graduated from your ITM with a Bachelor Engineering in Computer and Information Engineering and Master of Science in Computer Science. Currently employed as a Senior Executive at Sirin Berhad. What about you, Sister Rohaiza? How are you feeling today?
Sorry. Okay, Alhamdulillah. Thank you for inviting me to participate for this evening. Hopefully we can get something today for the discussion. Thank you.
Inshallah. Glad to know that. Moving on to our next panelist, we have Sister Nur Wahida Ahmad Yahaya. She gained her Bachelor of Mechanical Aerospace Engineering from IIUM and Master of Science Aerospace with Vehicle Design from Cranfield Uni, UK. Currently working as a Boeing Field Service representative. I hope you have a great Sunday, Sister Nur Wahida.
Yes, Nadia, thank you. I'm doing good and Alhamdulillah. Thank you for asking.
Next, we have Dr. Amani Salim. She graduated from the University of Minnesota, USA, where she gained Bachelor in Science in Electrical Engineering, Master of Electrical Engineering, PhD Biomedical Engineering. Have worked with projects under domain leading organizations such as NASA, EPA, and NIH. Currently a full-time technopreneur working at Nanoscan Work X Sdn Berhad. Sorry. Hope you are feeling great today, Dr. Amani.
Alhamdulillah, thank you very much, Nadia, for the kind introduction. Assalamualaikum, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you to all of our panelists for joining us today. In today's agenda, we will mainly discuss how impactful women are in the engineering department. I hope our panelists here are excited to share their own thoughts and opinions. Without further ado, let's start our session. I am sure a lot of our participants are eager to know how our panelists here become an engineer in the first place. So the first question goes to Sister Rohaiza. What inspired you to become an engineer?
Okay. Can you share the slide I sent to you just now? Okay, first of all, it's a great pleasure for me to be with you guys this evening. It has been about 20 years since I left IIUM. Okay, let me introduce just a simple introduction about myself. I'm Rohaiza binti Abdul Malik. Okay, I graduated in IIUM in Computer and Information Engineering in year 2000. I was the third batch from the KOE. And then I further my study in computer science, master in computer science at University Technology Mara. From 2000 to current, actually I work in 2 companies, but I serve for the 3 different section. So it has been 21 years I've been workers and different sectors. So the first company was Crystal Clear Technology, which is my first job. I've been there for 6 years, and then later from that time until now, I'm still in Sirin Berhad. Okay, next. So maybe I can share a bit to you some information about Sirin Berhad. Maybe on the what is IC BioEng is all about. Just a little introduction. Next slide, please. Next, okay. So if you can see that this is some of the activity that that IC BioEng, IC Bio Natural Gas section are doing. So there are about 3 activities: the bio-natural gas generation. We also have the type 4 composite high pressure cylinder development, and also we have the wastewater management system. So this is actually some of the things that we have been doing in Sirin Berhad, especially in IC BioEng. So looking at this part, I think will answer to you some of the questions that were asked to me. Is it true that this is the main field? Okay, so if you see from the slide, you can see so many things from mechanical, chemical, and sort of thing. So we go to the first question. The next slide, please. All right. So this is what the question sent to me. What inspired you to become an engineer? Okay, at first, I think this is the common things that come to us first. When we call about engineering, we see that the first thing that come to our mind is we want to have more money, or maybe actually your family or your friends say you can do engineering, and then maybe you think that you are very good, you are a genius, then you want to do the engineering. So maybe all the things that come up earlier. But actually, during my growing age, engineering is not a common to us. Living in small village in 80s, I knew nothing about engineering till my sister married to her husband, an engineer, worked for Telecom Malaysia. At that time, I was impressed when my brother-in-law shared his working experience. What attracted me most was he had the opportunity to travel around Malaysia and overseas. For me, it was interesting job. Plus, at that time, engineers are among the highly paid salary. So back then, I guess I was inspired by the income rather than the engineering field itself. So, and being a science stream student, during that time, we used to hear about medical, engineering, computer science, not so much of other options like we have today, where I think most universities offer diversified programs for you to choose based on your interest, based on your result. Back then, I guess most of us chose the popular option with little knowledge about our choice. So anyway, just to share, my first choice for IIUM entry was to pursue my study in law, nothing to do with engineering. I never thought that I would further my studies in engineering in IIUM since it was very, very new course at that time, until I got the interview and later I received the offer letter and I almost reject the offer. But then after a lot of thinking and advice from my family, I accepted the offer. Ever since that, I see more in my family took the same field. Eventually, I inspired others to be in the team. So the next challenge to me when I've decided to continue with engineering is which major to take. Earlier, we had only 3 programs. We have computer and information, manufacturing, and mechatronics. So I chose computer and information engineering, major in software engineering. At that point, I thought if you do computer engineering, you will end up like Bill Gates. You make money, you do more computer work, you do programming. That was very typical thought at that time. So, however, my first job was in product development in LCD manufacturing in crystal clear technology in Subang Jaya. So I did embedded programming using mostly in assembly language and C, and I have to do some hardware and PCB design. I have to prepare test jig and do some troubleshooting. I would like to express my thanks to all my lecturers, dedicated to Professor Faris, Professor Hamzah, Dr. Makbub, Dr. Momojimo, and many more during that time. Because of them, that is how I'm today. So may Allah bless them, dunya wal akhirah. So I worked there in crystal clear technology for 6 years before I joined Sirim Berhad at Bukit Jalil under Advanced Manufacturing Center. I still did some embedded programming at that time, but this time for different application, mainly for industry use. At that center, we have software group, mechanical and automation. And we were the one that worked with Mohe or KPT to organize robot contest or Robocon. I think some of you familiar with this program. So I was one of the referee from 2007 and I was the head of the referee in 2013. Under Sirim, we work with different ministries and agencies, also SMEs, and our activities also diverse. In year 2009 and 2010, we were one of the agencies that conduct upskilling program for graduate students. Under my section, we conducted training on embedded design system. We prepared the training modules, which consist of hands-on training and soft skills, and we be also the trainer for the course. So in 2014 to 18, I was transferred to R&D grant section, or in most institutions, we call it Research Management Center. So this is the center that manage the grant, starting from application of fund and project monitoring. And at this center, I did most the project monitoring and management for projects from different fields that forced me to do my own study to understand the project and handle all the communication between CRIM and the funders. This job also brought me around Malaysia because I was also appointed as part of the project monitoring team for MOSTI. From 2019 till now, I work under Innovation Center in IC Bio Natural Gas. Most of my colleagues are from mechanical and chemical engineering background, where our activity mainly in biogas generation, composite tank development, and wastewater management. Again, I have to realign my focus to a different field of engineering. So you see, that is the reality. You studied in computer, major in software engineering, end up as test engineer with more on electronic and hardware design. Then you are also a trainer. Later you are the project manager. Now I'm towards my field again, incorporate with the existing group. Okay, so at the very beginning, yes, the salary, the benefits inspired you more. But once you are in the field, you will discover what actually motivate you to be in this field. Although I experience different scope in my work, but I keep in mind the engineering thought in my work. For me, engineers are problem solver, not the problem, okay? We investigate the root cause of the problem. We are happy if we can solve the problem. We care less how we do it, but we want it to be done. So at this age, work certification also inspired me to be in this field of engineering. So that's all from me for the first questions.
Thank you so much, Sister Raisa, for your great sharing just now. Next, what about you, Dr. Nadira? What made you want to pursue a career as an engineer?
Well, thank you, Nadia. Would you mind sharing my slides, the one I sent to Nur Farhana last night, please? Right, perfect. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you once again, Nadia, for the introduction. And before I go on sharing what inspired me to be an engineer, I would like to definitely say thank you to the organizer for the invitation and congratulate them for the effort that they have taken in making this online event a success. And I also hope everyone is staying safe and keeping well, because it has been a very challenging year. And inshallah, we are all going to get through this soon. And also, I truly understand that it is tough to look for jobs just now. But if you are open to opportunities, you will certainly find one. It might not be your first choice, but we have to always remember that the path to success is not usually a straight line, right? So if you can go on to my second slide, please. So it has always been my dream to make the world a better place through engineering. And my family has always been my source of inspiration. So they have full trust and confidence in me, and they even consented me to further my studies and work in any place in the world. So they always inspire me to study and gain as much knowledge. And they keep on saying that, reminding me to never stop learning. So although my father, he is a retired professional engineer, but I was not being brought up in a very typical Asian household where we were forced to study, for example, medicine or engineering, but rather I developed the interest in engineering when I followed my father to the site where his factory was under construction. And I remember I was being only 6 years old back then. So I was fascinated by the building and the construction works. And I also grew up in a very small family of just 2 siblings, me and my older sister. So since we do not have any male siblings, we were taught to be outstanding and also competitive, always better than the males. So back then, I could not really understand as I was still young, like a young girl. But then as I grew older, I have learned to know that my father and my mother, they were indeed actually preparing me to face the real life where I am in right now. So can you just proceed, click on the next slide, please, Nadia? Nadia, can you go on the next slide, please? Just a little bit of my educational background. Yeah, so I attained my undergraduate and master degrees both in electronics from IIUM in computer and information engineering. And then later on, right after graduation, I work in semiconductor companies, which were Infineon Technologies and Texas Instruments. So I also did my master's part-time while I was attached with Texas Instruments and also Infineon Technologies, like these two companies. So after over 6 years working in the industry, I then decided to pursue my PhD at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. And then right now I'm attached to CTDI Europe in Glenrothes, also Scotland, as part of their test development team. So if you can move on to my next slide, please, Nadia. Right, I reckon most of the participants of this forum, if not all, you are from the engineering background, right? So you should definitely by now know that engineering is very exciting. Well, you can clearly name any object around you. The laptops that you have, the phones and the chairs that you're sitting on, they all have the touch of engineering. So the infrastructure and buildings involve engineering designs and also construction. And the dress that you are donning right now, they might not look like an engineer products, but then don't forget that how these dresses are produced, the machinery works involve the factory and the computerization, the communication, the vehicles that transport these dresses, they are all indeed require engineering inputs. So you should not be afraid to endeavor into the engineering world. As people often say, failure is a start to success, and indeed it is. So engineering is not necessarily dealing with big machinery that they used to portray it, or power stations, or stereotype people in safety helmets and monkey suits, or probably jumpsuits to call it. So we all have to change that stigma. You have to change that stigma. You have to know that engineering is a very, very, very diverse field, and then one can still stay modest while being involved in engineering. So in fact, ever since my undergraduate days, I always wanted to show that being feminine does not stop me to do well in the engineering field. So I think we could come to the last slide, please, Nadia. And in my work, I have to deal with all kinds of people of all levels, from the operation level to the up to the top management level. And when dealing with them, we have to be humble, and we should not be afraid to reach out if you need any help. And also, most importantly, you have to always do your best, because success knows no bounds. And then you may probably not get the job that you are qualified upon your graduation, but then to start your job life, you should just accept any work that you're offered and then get experience from it. So that's how you grow. And most importantly, you have to do your best and try to make the work favorable to you, because there will definitely be ups and downs in any job, in any field you'll be in later on. So you really need to have a strong character and do not let the job environment influence your attitude. So you just focus on the achievement of your career. That's pretty much for the first round. Thanks, Nadia.
Such an inspiring story from Dr. Nadira. Thank you, Dr. Nadira. Right. From recent statistics, the engineering field is mostly dominated by men. Why is this happening, and how to increase women's involvement in engineering? I would like to pass the floor to Sister Nur Wahida. What is your opinion on this matter?
Assalamualaikum. Thank you, Nadira, and thank you also for ENGITEX committee for invitations and opportunity to share experience to young engineers today. First of all, can you see my screen?
Yes,
Yes,
you can
yes.
see it.
Okay, thank you. I also would like to thank you to Nadia for the very kind introduction just now. I'm Nur Wahida Ahmad Yahya, alumni aerospace IIUM second batch, graduated in 2006. Currently, I'm working as Boeing field service representative in Malaysia for the Boeing company. Let me just share a little bit about my education and professional experience. I'm graduated in aerospace engineering 2006, and after that I continue with Master of Science Aerospace Vehicle Design at Cranfield University, United Kingdom in 2009. I start my career as an aeronautical engineer at Aero Subang as for serve military airplanes. After that, I continued study and I came back as a lecturer. I serve university technology. I served UniKL Niat for 2 years before I got opportunity to join Malaysia Airlines as a technical services, specialized in plane system and also interiors. I've been with Malaysia Airlines for 8 years and I hold some approval for CAM Malaysia and also IASA showing compliance engineer. I'm more specialized in Boeing airplane, 737 and also ATR and Airbus aircraft. And when I was in my 8 years in Malaysia Airlines, I think I need to explore more in engineering. So I got opportunity and I went for interview for Boeing field service representative at Malaysia. And it start in 2018 until now. So work as a Boeing field service representative is as you are the Boeing representative in Malaysia. You are the one who observe what are the airlines who have Boeing airplanes. You are the one who see how they maintain, how the reliability of the airplanes, and how they do the maintenance, whether they follow the manuals, whether they are using the correct safety. So all are taking into account when you are dealing with spelling object, especially in safety and also quality. So now I still in Malaysia and we have a lot of courses that required us and also backfilling to go at Boeing US and supported other country Boeing field service representative. So the question that I received is how and why? Why is this happening? Why there are less women in engineering? So before we know why, based on my humble experience, I think the main concern that we need to address is lack of interest. Lack of interest of women in engineering and also lack of exposure. So before we move to the next slide, you can see from the blue box, which I put my own code in engineering, which referring to engineering is about applying. Applying what you have learned to find creative, pragmatic solution for the real world problems. That's some things I thoroughly enjoy. This is my motto that I put in my dreams, and you always referring is I have anything obstacles and I need to know I need to find creative solutions. I need to enjoy my work. So when we say is why lack of interest and lack of exposure, we can relate interest to finding or enjoy doing it. You need to enjoy doing it. As an engineer, you need to enjoy. So when you enjoy, you have interest. And also you need exposure. Exposure here means is you need to learn to find. You need to find ways. You don't have to just sitting at waiting for something, waiting people to invite you to join a conference, waiting people to invite you to to go to the aircraft, to be in the engineering community. So from my experience and my humble experience, I will say why women are less in engineering. There are only two. There are only two need to be addressed: lack of interest and lack of exposure. So future engineers, you already know now why there is less women in engineering. You can see from my introductions and work experience, my works are in aviation, which we know that aviation are dominated by men. But it doesn't give you, it doesn't stop you. It doesn't give you any obstacle. You need to keep on going to fulfill your interests, to know your interests. So we know why, but now we are going to see how. How to increase women's involvement in engineering? It is very simple. How to increase women is you need to answer back why. Okay. To gain interest and also to gain exposure, first is you need to getting to know the industry. I think most of the future engineers and the audience here already know what are the industry you would like to involve when you are graduated, because you already choose your background. So there are a lot of industry. Getting to know doesn't mean you just know the industry. Here is the time you getting to know the industry better. Not just that getting to know the industry, but getting to know the industry better. Which is when you choose your majoring, you already know what is your interest. This is only surface, but you need to explore after that. This is more related to those who already completed your internship and now doing your final year project. So we know you need to getting to know your industry. For my this is I just sharing my background because I'm from aviation background. So how to get the industry better? The very simple answer is expand your knowledge. Don't limit in learning because undergrad study is very important. Undergrad study is occupy you with all the fundamental, theoretical, and basic knowledge. You are going to use all the theoretical, and also be resourceful. Be resourceful, and also be positive attitude. So engineers, future engineers have a very positive attitude. So once you already have expand your knowledge, what you need to do next step is to do networking. I do encourage a lot of when I was in Malaysia Airlines, there are a few internship students, especially from IIUM, to be under my sections. So I always encourage internship students to appreciate the opportunity of internship. Use the time of your internship to explore and do networking. For example, if you do an internship at Malaysia Airlines or you do internship at any designs, for example, design house at Aerod, or you are doing anything related to MRO, to Asia Aerotechnic or Sepang Engineering, do networking. Always asking questions. Please don't be shy. So asking questions and participate. Participate in all, for example, your senior or your engineer that want you to follow them to the aircraft, take this opportunity. Be participate and always be volunteer. So as I'm aviation background, I would like to just to share with you getting to know the industry. I'll give example in aviation. What you need to know in industry is know the industry player. You know who is the aircraft manufacturer. You know who is the engine manufacturer, avionics parts, composite parts, and also after that, especially we need airlines who operate the airplanes. And when you know that, you explain your knowledge. Oh, it won't stop me when I graduate. There are many companies that I can go, especially in aviation. Don't limit yourself. Don't just see when I graduate, I will work in Boeing. When I graduate, I want to work with Airbus. Start yourself we know that undergraduates, you still need to have a acute mind that you need also to learn based on experience. There are a lot of industry players in Malaysia, especially in aviation, that now are growing, and also there are also industry players globally. So acquire your knowledge, expand your knowledge, do networking. So I'm here is sharing to share with future engineer, especially in aviation. Don't limit yourself. Don't think when you are graduated in aviation, you only going to be aircraft engineer. You are going to be you are can as to be a pilot. You are going to be. You can be. You can as you can see. You can eyes opening when you know your industry player. When you getting know the industry better, you can see there is an industry. There are technical parts with technical team which are also in the office. They are doing background work. For example, technical services engineer, we have cabins, we have interiors, we have aircraft system and structure. We also have avionics, maintenance control center, technical records. So open your mind, getting to know the industry better, do a lot of research. Do a lot of research. When you become at fourth year, now you know, oh, after this, I don't limit, when I graduate, I want to apply Malaysia Airlines. So there are many students graduate in aerospace. Don't limit yourself only to Malaysia Airlines. Do a lot of research and explore. There are a lot of resourceful information nowadays in internet. And I also want to share that beside the technical knowledge, because the technical works in engineer, we also do hands-ons, where you can see women are very less in hands-on technical, especially in base maintenance and line maintenance. However, these don't put this one as a limit. Don't limit yourself that, oh, I can't do this because it is heavy maintenance. If you have interest and you have patience, you can do this. Especially, I encourage young future engineers to be patient in engineering. When you graduate, you need to start. We say you need to start from the. We say start with the engineer first, and then you can go to technical, improve yourself, and then you can broaden your mind. And also, you can see in aviation, there are engine workshops, there are composite workshops, and cabin workshops. You can see these are the areas that young engineer doesn't see when they doesn't see, and that is means by getting to know your industry better. Getting to know your industry better. So I would say this, you must explore this opportunity and take advanced steps knowing your future employer. And as a takeaways for this question, I would like future engineers to see effort as a path of mastery, embrace challenge, which don't take any difficulty or obstacle or give up that stop you in engineering. And what is main important thing for engineers right now? Be resourceful. Thank you, Nadia.
Thank you so much, Sister Nur Wahida, for sharing your experience. I am actually attracted with your motto just now you have mentioned. Engineering is about applying what we've learned to find creative and pragmatic solution for real world. I believe all of us here feel motivated to be a creative engineer as you. From your next, we wanted to ask Dr. Amani, from your perspective, how to increase women's involvement in engineering? I pass the floor to Dr. Amani.
All right, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Miss Nadia. Can you hear me well, everyone? Yes?
Yes, can hear you clearly.
Okay. First of all, thanks a lot to the organizers, especially Dr. Hasmah. I think she's here. I look at her in the list of the participants for inviting me to give a talk, okay, to this very important celebrating women in engineering, and why it's important to basically talk about this topic about women in engineering, especially one of the things that I'd like to answer these very important questions that were posed by the organizers. Okay, the question about, from recent statistics, engineering field is seen to be dominated by men. This is the question that was asked. Okay, and in my opinion, why this is happening and how do we tackle this as women in engineers? Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit, going to answer that question. I'm going to talk a bit about my journey like the other speakers, but very briefly. So everyone knows Dr. Amani. Since I came to UIA, I was an staff alumni UIA. I left just 5 months ago to basically develop my own startup called Nanoskunk Works in Berhad. Okay, but before we go to that, this journey going to a startup is quite a journey for me. One is that developed through 18 years of experience. I was in the United States and also working with various industries, and especially working on creative projects. What I mean by creative projects is that exploratory projects that answers fundamental questions in the science, but using the engineering discipline to basically help build knowledge around this, and that resulted in, of course, the launch of the Sporesat nanosatellite, which was in orbit for 200 days, low Earth orbit. So for all of you, I'm going to talk a bit about that, leading to that, and also other work involving census work that I developed, not only with NASA, but also for water quality monitoring and other applications. Okay, coming back, I went to UIA. I had a very enjoyable time, especially with my students at UIA. I found very bright and talented soon-to-be engineers. Some of those shared their sessions in the earlier session of this program also. Those are, one of them is my student, was my student. So I think that the UIA is a good platform to basically develop your own networking and also to know people and to build your engineering knowledge. But one of the things that I want to talk about also is that in our journey, one of the main things that I think I want all the students here and also all the participants today is that one of the most important in life is actually to find purpose. What is the purpose of our existence? Why are we in this universe? It's a question that I keep asking myself, and I find it a lot also at UIA. Looking at the young generation and teaching my students, and also going with the Academic Staff Association to places like Kuala Krai, developing technology for some of the NGOs that work with us during that time, is finding purpose of using our engineering knowledge into real world application. So I talked a bit about my company right now. The pronunciation is Nanoskunk, not with an X, because the X is actually following the space X, but it's not pronounced as an X. So it's Nanoskunk Works. And this company, startup, is actually founded, me and my partner. Okay, we have this vision of when I heard the talks today and so forth, is that I also see that I'm the only speaker that actually more of a startup punya realm, right? Startup world. So I think this is 21st century is the time for startups. For young generation, especially that coming from various backgrounds, such as both of us, we're both US graduates, marrying people of different expertise together, right, is when you cross-pollinate across disciplines and build things such as, that is useful for mankind. And that's, I think that the time is right now for Malaysia to venture into this startup and building the startup ecosystem. And I think one of the things that I'd like to say to myself is that we need to lead the way, right? UIA always have this slogan saying leading the way. So I think it is time that we lead the way to show the young generation that there is something for your engineering knowledge that you learn in schools and to be applied in building your own startups and solving real world problems. So just to tell you the inspiration of this Nanoskunk Works, I came from a various background of organization that I work, starting from organizations such as NASA, where is a government organization, but then there's small teams under NASA that that actually create great things. Okay, they're creative, they're experts in their own domain, and they're not held down by the large bureaucracy of the organization. I kind of like that model. It means that small people, ambitious, talented, and you put it under one roof and see magic happens. And this is the inspiration of this company, is that from a Skunk Works model, if you read about the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, is a small team of engineers. They were put together under one roof and given big problems to tackle. And because of that, the cross-pollination happened, a lot of learning and so forth, and with high impact mission, okay? And they managed to basically develop the first American jet fighter in 46 days. And this model of Skunk Works is also done by Steve Jobs and Wozniak when the first Macintosh computer was built. So seeing all this is that the adik-adik, the students, I call adik-adik lah because I'm no longer a lecturer, but you all are in this ecosystem in UIA and so forth, in your dormitories and so forth, where magic can happen, where you can, you have your friends and so forth who are passionate in certain things, and you bring them together and said, hey, why not we do something, together and build something together. And this is where, real startups happen, is that when small people with real passion and interest come together trying to build something meaningful. And because of this is that the model that we use for our team is inspired by this small autonomous team. You need to have a focused leadership, and you attack big problems and to solve big outcomes. And because of that, and of course, you need to have a strong financial resources and support, which I think patient capital can be given by the government at the early stage of startups. And I think that the students should learn how to acquire capital and so forth, right? Which is actually really, really important for developing a successful startup, having the right investors. And the last is that, one of the best things being a student is to have this creative mindset and so forth, because you have the freedom from interference and bureaucracy to basically work on your work and develop creative projects. And I think that's the type of organization that was led also by my team at NASA, even though it's a government organization, but the team is very agile. So because of that, all these innovations, of course, Lockheed is a, develop technology for war, but in Malaysia, we can do it for other purposes. Now, coming back to that question about women in science and why there's less, and is it a male-dominated field and so forth, I'm going to show you this picture. So this is me at NASA. I was a project leader for SPORSAT, which is a nanosat project. And you can see here, you can count, right, the number of women in this picture. Okay. So you think it is a Malaysia problem? Not really. People think it's a global thing. The question to ask is, why is this so, right? So there's some answers given by the other speakers, but I'd like to bring back to the question is that, are the statistics telling the right thing? Okay, because if you read books by Tom Harford, when you talks about numbers and statistics, is that when you look into statistics, you have to also know the behind story, and also what is it trying to achieve? Okay, but the numbers is trying to show you. So in NASA, for example, you might see in this picture that there's only 2 women in this project, but actually the women in this project are key people. Okay. The one in the blue shirt is actually one of the project managers who actually had a very young project manager that handles the organization and put together the team and communication with the team and budget and scheduling and so forth. Very, very important. And I'm the project leader, which I leads all of these people that you see in this picture. So we said, when you talk about numbers, you have to be careful. We in Malaysia like to quantify things. We use numbers to say, oh, we do it better or not. But actually, numbers is not meaningful when it doesn't mean anything. Okay, behind numbers, there should be a story. There should be something that is more tangible, something more concrete that leads into that story itself. So I think it's not that there's no women in engineering. I think we have to ask, where are the women, right? Which positions are they in what jobs are they holding, and so forth. And also to see, especially in the context of Malaysia, the industry in Malaysia, for example, are these industry gravitate women to, or there needs to be something that we do, for example, to create new industries or that encourages creative projects, which is actually, if you look at NASA, most of the women are in the creative projects, design, creative projects, building things and so forth, because maybe due to the strength and interest of the female gender. Not to say that there's no interest in the other, more of a male dominated interest, but also to see whether the engineering field itself is diversified to accept a woman and men, both, to be the best at their profession. So this is something that I think NASA do best. In this organization, for example, which I learned at NASA, is that they tend to put people where they are best at, not because they are gender or female, woman or not, or because this is a certain job that requires a certain characteristics that cannot be changed. But actually what they do was that to encourage people to choose the things that they do best so that they can perform and provide the best outcomes to the organization. And I think that's what NASA did best. If you can see here, diversity is not just about gender, but it's also about the age, background. There's people from Philippines, Poland, Germany, all South Korea, okay, Americans, Hispanics here. There's a lot of people of various background, and that diversity is what create organization really great, especially at NASA. Okay, so this is something that I'll talk about later. So why 21st century needs more women in engineering? There's this, we need to, especially as women, our role is, and men, okay, especially I'm talking if there's male engineers or male students over here, is actually to also play a role, okay? This is not just a female problem or a female issue. It's also important for the men to actually be advocates, okay, to encourage more diversity of people in engineering field. And one of them is to replace these outdated stereotypes that, oh, susah kerja apa, engineer ni kena be a certain type, it's always about machines and so forth. Guess what? A lot of work at NASA doesn't deal with machines. A lot of work at NASA, for example, the creative work with a lot of women are dealing with our design work, creative engineering design work that you learn in your engineering classes, okay? So creative CAD work, product development that involves dealing with customers and also designing products that are female friendly, okay? Not just addressing a certain type of users, all requires women in engineering. So I think that we need to replace these outdated stereotypes that engineering work is just about, the machines and so forth like that. But that's not just engineering work. There's more other engineering work. Engineering is about problem solving. Even solving the poverty outside is really engineering, right? Solving the poverty, the food issues, scarcity issues, and so forth are really engineering problems. So don't limit yourself into something that you know with the current industry that's available in Malaysia. And this is the reason why I developed the startup also, to change the stereotypes that engineering is not just about that, but also about, this interplay of various cross-pollination of various disciplines and so forth, that actually create a product that can create more industries that comes from a killer app. But another thing that I would like to point out is that when you ask about women engineering, it's not just about the work or the job as engineers, but also are they in the position of decision making? Women need to be more in the position of decision making, because when you have more women in this position, the decisions made, hopefully, can be more inclusive of the issues relating not to just female, but also to male. Okay? A woman has this nurturing characteristics, as you know, as you already all know, this is the fitrah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us. But at the same time, this fitrah is actually a very, very important a trait to have, okay? So that we are more inclusive, not only of the female gender, but also of humanity as a whole. This includes male, children, thinking about the environment, the animals, and so forth. So I think woman has that trait that actually can create a lot of values in engineering in the 21st century. 2 more slides and I'm done. Perception of the profession. One of the things is that I think that's very important to address this issue of why there's no, how to encourage women in engineering or to make them more visible. Okay, maybe there are women in engineering, but until I meet these beautiful ladies today, right? You might not know that there are Sister Rohaiza, Dr. Nadira, Sister Nur Wahida as engineers, right, working in the roles, their respective roles, and that's why it's important, Nadia, for this programs to basically introduce engineers to the public, especially to know the role of women, that they are women engineers. So role models of engineers need to be made visible, okay? Because one of the things is that they're not considered as a sexy profession. Tak sexy. If you look into the need, like you turn on Netflix, right? Or you turn on, okay, all these people in the medical field, lawyers, you know, they get all this, they become sexy, and people look, where does the engineers, right? Is it just the Big Bang Theory, all the nerds and so forth? Is it how we want to portray engineers as, you know? Or is it something that we can portray and highlight the engineers as like everybody else, you know? We are cool people and we create cool things. And it's a hard profession. See, I don't like to camouflage engineering as an easy profession. No, it's hard work and it's a lot of focus and sacrifices. But guess what? Hard work and focus and sacrifices are sexy. And we need to make that to be known, you know, that being in this type of profession, the hard work, the detailed, meticulous work, the mathematics and engineering and the design are all sexy work, okay? So creating this perception of the profession needs to be changed, because kalau you buka the TV, is all about, you know, people in the business world and finance, and where are the engineers? So I think it's our role as engineers to make this perception of the profession sexy, okay? Because that's not what the TV shows are highlighting. And because they're not highlighting us, we have to highlight the profession itself to the public, okay? And in order to do that, finally, my last slide for this question is that you have to include inclusiveness of the varied culture. An organization that I'm creating right now is actually, and some organization actually inclusive of people who might not be included in a lot of organizations, such as even women itself, you know, we're putting always behind as a supporter instead of a leading role, okay? Being the star instead of a supporting actress, a supporting actor, right? You need to put the engineers in the front role, okay? So introverts, because a lot of engineers are introverts, I can notice that they don't talk a lot, you know, they're the type who do the work. And in a lot of culture, not only in Malaysia and even worse in the United States, introverts are not celebrated, you know, they're usually being put behind, and the extroverts are talking in the meeting and so forth, you know, and the people, creative people who do the hard work are not put at the front, you know, at the front of conversations. So I think that's important to have this inclusiveness of varied culture in your organization or in any group. For example, for the students, right? If you have group projects and so forth, include your introverts, friends and so forth, because a lot of time people who do not say a lot have a lot more to offer. So this is some of the inclusiveness of the varied culture that we need to have in our organizations. And finally, this is really want to advise, you know, the young engineers, future engineers, is that it's important to be involved in conversations on diversity, not just gender diversity, but also diversity of background, you know, being open to different suggestions and different opinions, and to challenge opinions, because great products are made through being challenged and being questioned and being tested, trialed, and in the real world. So I think having that early in your practices when you were students, right? When you're students, it's actually important to ensure that, you know, that engineering becomes again a sexy profession, as it's always been. Engineers are the one who solve the world. To bring engineers closer to the financial, okay, we are so far ahead. The finance and business people are not the one who change the world. They are engineers, because we build things, we are creators, and it's a privilege to be in the position of a creator. So I think that's it, Nadia, for the first question from Dr. Amani. Thank you very much.
What an eye-opening sharing from Dr. Amani. Seeing Dr. Amani's startup reminds me one of the K-drama called Startup, if I'm not mistaken. I believe all of our participants today are thrilled with Dr. Amani's encouragement to start our own startup as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Amani. Next, we proceed to challenges that engineers may face without us knowing it. Challenges are anything that prevents future movements from developing or making any progress, or any incidents and conditions that make the career development difficult to move forward. What are the challenges for women working in the engineering field? I would like to address this matter to Sister Rohaiza. Do you have any challenges that you have faced so far as a woman engineer?
Yes, I did. Yeah, for your information, during my first job, I was the only lady in the engineering, production engineering. So being the first one, female engineer, and at that time, we have to convince that IIUM can produce a good engineer. So it's a very heavy duty for me to prove that IIUM can produce a good engineer. So at the first time, they would say like, "Are you sure you taking engineering? Are you can you speak Arabic? You know, that kind of thing." Because IIUM is very synonym with other course instead of engineering. So at that moment, we have two things there. One is to convince myself that I can do this, and secondly to uphold IIUM names. So Alhamdulillah, after about three months of working, then I can promote my other friends from IIUM to join the company. So the trust is there, then that is very easy for us to recommend other people which are from IIUM also. And then even now, actually, in my section is only 12 personnel, and I'm only the one woman engineer in that group. So the rest of the team is male engineers. So go back to the question from the point of view, what are the challenges for women working in the engineering field? So most people say that, like the other panel said just now, what we have been in our men, engineering is dominated by men. So we might think the female engineer is less visible, less important than male, and because of that, we tend to compete with them to be at the same level. I don't have the figure of how many male engineer or female engineer in Malaysia, but from my observation, it depends on which field we are referring to. No absolute field for men and women. It is our choice actually. But we as women may tend to choose some skills that less physical and long hour working. So that's why you see more men in the plant design, machine design, or production engineering team, which require more physical and energy compared to software group or research lab, where mostly dominated by female engineers. But bear in mind, God created us, men and women, with different capability and weaknesses. So instead of being haunted by why so many male engineers in this field, we appreciate their existing in positive way. If you can't beat them, join them. We work together with them, complement each other. So I have seen in my female colleague in plant design and machine design, even though they are minority, but their contribution is very significant in the organization and they succeed in their career, same as the male engineers. Secondly, the challenge is you need to keep up with the changes and the technology revolution. Things you learned 10 or 20 years back may be no longer relevant or even obsolete. And sometimes you have to accept that you need to learn new things around you. You may not be the expert, but at least you have the basic knowledge. For example, myself, I'm from computer background. Now I move to environment, chemical, and mechanical engineering. So how am I going to link with the system? What I can contribute based on my background and experience. That's the challenge. And upskilling is needed. Over the time, you might feel saturated to be at the same level and position. And here is the time you must plan to move forward. For example, you may further your study or take certified courses to enhance your career. The third one is, I think to keep up with the high expectation from others, which demand your time and your energy. They might assume that you are good, brave enough to make decisions, and at the same time expect the best from you. Then how are you going to face this kind of thing? First, put added value in your jobs. How? Learn new things, even if it's not related to your field. Don't be afraid because, for example, learn about project management, learn about finance, polish your soft skills. Small change may give big impact in your performance. Do something that may outshine yourself, show your strength, and try to improve your weaknesses. Based on my experience, sometimes we focus so much on the technical part and we don't bother on the non-technical part, which is also important for your project to success. In other words, be visible, stay relevant to your organization, apply as much as you can the knowledge and experience you have attained. And the fourth one, I think there is a very common dilemma, common challenges in our daily life, where you have to choose between your career and family. Like myself, I have 6 kids. Okay, so this is a common dilemma for any working woman, lady. So sometimes you need to sacrifice your time with your family, and this is the one of the hurdles that you may end up to give up your career and to do something else. In this case, all you need is a good support, mentally and physically. For example, you may need to fork out money to hire a maid to help you in doing house chores or to look after your kids during absence. It is a bless if you can have a spouse that really understand and give you all the support you need. Okay, so based on the 4 reasons I mentioned just now, the number 1 challenge is actually yourself. Because all this above is the external factor that you cannot control. You cannot control others' perspective towards you. You cannot control the technology revolution. You cannot control the knowledge, but you can control yourself. You have to challenge yourself, either to move forward with your career or step back. If you want to remain, you will find a way to achieve. You will take care of others, and you will find the way to beat the obstacles. Lastly, but not least, have faith in Allah. This is the most important. Be patient, for only He knows what is the best for you. When is the right time for everything? And remember, everything happens by the will of Allah. I always remind myself with this Surah Al-Baqarah 286, La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Allah does not lay a responsibility on anyone beyond his capacity. So you are the chosen one for this field. Then do your best, make wise decision, and move forward. So that's all from me for that question. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for your sharing, Sister Rahiza. I actually wanted to share my experience as well, that I am not in the industry yet, but I wanted to share that I was also the only female student during my first semester, during my foundation studies in IIUM. All right, next, how about you, Sister Nurahida? Do you have anything to share about your hardships?
Thank you, Nadia. Yeah, having a career that I love, that I enjoy, fulfilling me as a mother, as a human being, as a contributor to the community, yes, there is a challenge. The first challenge for women to be in the industry, like what Sister Rohaiza say, is how to build trust. How to build trust, which is related to decisions. So you are the woman, and trust need to be together, decision making with the man. For example, when you do a decision making, you are not make only judgment by yourself. You need to get a collective decisions to get a very good decision making. And you also need to understand, you need, before you build trust, you need to get people knowing you. Knowing you means knowing you for a good things. So you need to make people knowing you. How to make people knowing you is networking. And also, I would like to share my experience. I'm the only Boeing field service here, the female, and the other one is expat from the US. So when there is an issue, operational issue, we are the focal contact for the airlines. So can you imagine there is an aircraft crack? So you went there to check, to verify when engineer reporting to you that there is an aircraft, there is a crack, and then aircraft is not able to, not approved to fly. But look at you, you are a woman. You go to the line maintenance, and how are you going to convince the engineer and say, oh, this aircraft cannot fly? We need to get concurrent from Boeing to make some repair scheme. So do you think the guys will say you, oh, okay? They will first say you, are you sure? Are you sure what you are taking us? Why are you talking to us now? You are saying that we cannot operate the aircraft. It will affect our revenue. So when you telling the dominant key player in the aviation industry, especially men, it is really need trust to build up. Trust build up required by you have to make a good networking, make the people that you are surrounded, that you are working know you. Okay, and then be collaborative. Be collaborative means you need to put a very good added value between man engineer and also female engineer. And one thing is very important, challenging is speak up. Speak up is very important for young engineer right now. Speak up to address your idea. Sometimes when you speak up, it will show you, it doesn't show you because we are in Asian culture, we know that we are quite shy. We are quite shy to express or speak up because we are thinking that, oh, if I telling like this, people will think I doesn't know about the system. I'm stupid. And then B doesn't know that he also don't know about that. So when you speak up, you express your idea, you provide your opinions. Sometimes your idea give a good solutions. That is the idea what everybody are looking for. So the second challenge for me is work-life balance. I'm working with a multi-global company in Boeing. It's required very time management because my manager is in different time zone. So we need to contact Boeing in the US. So when Boeing at US morning, our time is already 9 p.m. So a very good time management you need to do because you have family. You have family, you have kids that you are also need to taking care of. So work-life balance is also important for women engineers. So make sure when you choose engineer, when you go to the industry, work-life balance, time management, prioritize your work. So the means by time management is you prioritize your work, which is important to do first. Okay, so if you need to look at your kids and then your respond to the customer, which is not too urgent, which is you can wait for another, for example, 2 hours, then go to see your kids. So that's mean by you need to prioritize your work. You need to have a good time management. And I would like to encourage future engineers to have the challenges in attitude. So I'm very thankful to the company where I'm working right now. The attitude is very, the attitude where is they are looking and they are look for your contributions. They're listening what you are talking about. So make sure that you have a very good attitude and the challenges between men and women. When you already have a good attitude, you occupy your knowledge, you will succeed in engineering. And also it comes with experience and it comes also with passion because we know that passion cannot be trained. Passions derive people with times are hard. Okay, we need to overcome obstacle. So when we overcome obstacle, we will satisfy. Thank you, Nadia.
That's really interesting to hear about struggles as a woman engineer. I believe that networking is very important in this field.
Yeah.
I will direct this question to Dr. Amani. How is your experience working as a woman engineer in other countries besides Malaysia? Are there any challenging events that you have encountered working overseas?
Okay, thank you, Nadia. It's a very question that is very important to for us to share our knowledge on lah, right? So challenges working overseas, I think challenges is everywhere. If you think about it, right? Even as students, you have challenges. Even as lecturers, you have challenges. All of these speakers have their challenges. And Dr. Amani has challenges. However, what's important is that how do you respond to challenges? So how do you respond to challenges? So I just give encounter lah, right? I'm going to tell you stories. So when I was in the US, as you all know, I've come fresh from 17, 18 years old, going there on my own to the US and going thrown into the American system to compete with some of the brightest and smartest students. And one of the things that as students, one of the main challenge I have is that you come from a different culture and work ethic, and you're thrown into a place where it's a different culture and work ethic altogether. American kids, they learn to program when they were 5 years old. You give a projects due in a week, they finish in 30 minutes. And I'm still struggling to learn and implement my C and C++ and Java at that stage, and trying to understand programming. The huge learning curve that you have to go through. When I was thrown in that engineering classrooms during that time, my first time in the US was quite challenging, but at the same time, as the previous speaker said, is that challenges builds character. See, without challenges, right? If you heard, it's always the stories that inspire us. It's always the rags to riches stories. Betul tak? Yang susah jadi senang. That is a story that we are inspired by. Okay, and that's why the stories that we like to hear from our grandparents and so forth, the stories that they built this country, from the times of building Malaysia and until they are today, there's always challenges. And I think that challenges is what built character. And because of that challenge, I knew that I was not smart like the American kids, and I think that I was not great and fast at programming is when I started to really learn. Not just for passing exams, but to really understand the fields. And to do that, I start to volunteer into the professors' punya projects. I do interns every summer. Summer ni short semester lah. You go and do interns. You have to work 10 times harder than the rest of the students, because you know you are below average if you don't do that. So you push yourself up. And alhamdulillah, as by the time I reach my second, third year, it becomes a natural to learn programming and so forth, which I didn't know. So that shows adversity creates opportunities for you to become better. So that's challenges as a student. Another challenge I had is that the journey through my work, everyone who do PhD has a story, but one of the main challenge I had was at that time was September 11. It's hard to stay in a country where Muslims are being questioned and labeled and interrogated even. I was involved in all of that, trying to survive to do my PhD when both of my grandparents passed away, and I didn't get the chance to go back. Being far from my parents at that time, September 11, you can't go back because of visa issues and so forth. Haven't seen my family for 5 years. When I was doing training in the United States, I was a single woman. I don't have a husband to take care or be together with me. I was there fighting on my own struggle. But one of the things that I like to share with all of you, because of this adversity, is when you create opportunities, is when I learned to develop friendships with people. I was involved in volunteers work, especially at hospitals, seeing kids with cancer. That was my best volunteer experience. Even though you're doing engineering, to the students, the best part is not just to get an A in your classes, but also to volunteer and know the real world and go out there and learn about people and see how you can apply your engineering to make sense of the world. One of the things, the best thing I did was to know, the cancer patients, kids who I get to see them, and in a week they were gone. The positivity and the enthusiasm they have about life in general is what keeps me going. And I said, who am I to complain and all that? And because of that, there's a lot of, as Sun Tzu said, opportunities comes in, you seize once, it multiplies, right? More opportunities come, you start volunteering, you start to know people. And as I go into I did do my work at the universities over there, and also I do some work with quite a few industry projects. One of the challenges I have was people question whether a Malaysian Muslim woman with a hijab can do the work as good as a as a German engineer of a white male engineer. Those are the things that I said to myself. I don't only carry the name of my family, but also the ummah, right? The labels people put on Muslim women to be helpless and not independent and so forth is actually, a lot of those are on me. And when I was at NASA, I have to basically address all that when you're dealing with people of various races, you know, from various countries, stereotypes toward Muslim women and so forth. But then because of the culture at NASA that celebrate diversity and differences is what really encourages me. My male colleagues actually is one of the most supportive at NASA, just to tell you how important male colleagues are to support women and to push them to be successful. And I think it's important to have that in any organization for the male colleagues to help the female. And I hope the brothers, sisters, UIA students also have this culture of helping each other and complementing each other's strength and so forth. And I think that's what keeps going. But one of the main challenges, last story Dr. Mani wants to share, is that one challenge that I have one time was when I was doing the NASA projects, after it was a 3-year total projects, after 1.5 years, things were failing. Okay. The sayings, these people who's against you, the naysayers, as you call it, say, this is what you get when you hire a Muslim woman with a hijab. They're saying like that, right? That's why things are failing. But because of these, my team is the most supportive. They said we hold responsibility to throw away the stereotype, because as an organization of NASA, we have to bring and celebrate people of their differences and make everybody successful. And because of that culture of wanting everyone to be successful, to be who they are, and to celebrate the differences and uniqueness of each individual as the organization holds, right? Because of that, we hold together. It was 3 a.m. in the morning, we were in the lab, and Eureka happens. You find solutions to your problems. That can only happen through teamwork and through appreciating each other's strength and differences, and to utilize this teamwork, right, to solve big problems. And I think that's what we did. And that's what that story, you don't tell, see, stories that shows just happiness and no challenge is a boring story, but stories with full of challenges and difficulties that you overcome and you become successful is always the rags to riches stories that we all would like to hear. So I think Sister Nadia and all here, right, what I would like to say is that celebrate the challenges you have in life and in your work. You know, I think all of us have that. Celebrate who you are, be appreciative, because Allah made us all different for a big reason, to contribute to the ummah. If we are all the same, then there's not going to be you know, if you look at the product, it's a contributive factor from everyone who basically bring in the differences and celebrate each other's domains, expertise, and so forth. And I think that what keeps me going through the challenges in the US and overcoming a lot of the tulah. If you want to hear Dr. Mani, you can come and talk to me personally, right? There's more stories of that, but I'm sure that, you know, all of you have your own stories, and inshallah we get to share that someday. So I think that's it, Nadia, from Dr. Mani. Thank you very much.
I agree with you that we can never run from challenges. As what Dr. Mani mentioned just now, it is how you respond to the challenges. It is really interesting sharing indeed. How about you, Dr. Nadira?
Nadia, I think I have a couple of slides to share.
All right.
Do you get just to hopefully will inspire the future female engineering graduates to, inshallah, explore the world and not to limit just within Malaysia. And before I go into it further, I was actually quite emotional when Dr. Amani mentioned that she was alone, a single woman in the US when September 11 happened, and then 5 years haven't got the chance to meet her family and was not able to return home when her grandparents passed away. So I can totally relate to that, because I'm right now a single woman being away from my family, and it's been more than 2 years since the pandemic that I haven't got the chance to be home. So it is very emotionally challenging. And like also Dr. Amani mentioned, if you don't have a good relationship with your friends or your colleagues, these are the things that would be missing, because these people are the ones that actually keep you going or get through the challenging times when you're away from home, because these are your family when you're away from home. Right. So you can just go on to the next slide, please, Nadia. Oh, or can I? Oh, no, that's fine. So no, back to the second. Okay, thank you, Sister Nadia. So I have always wanted to bridge the gap between the industry and academia. So these are the things that has prompted me to make a rather life-changing decision and pursued my PhD at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland, where I am currently right now. And just a brief detail on my PhD research. So it involved designing of flexible microelectrode arrays used in monitoring the growth of breast cancer cells. So this technology has great applications in biomedical field, as well as in therapeutic drug monitoring and bioprocess technologies. It's a very diverse field. For example, monitoring of microbial fermentation or degradation. So having electronics in computer and information engineering with no medical background whatsoever, I had to learn on my own by myself how to perform the cell culture from my biologist colleagues, the science behind cancer from the oncologists, and how to treat the microelectrodes from my chemist colleagues. So I also had the opportunity to work with the Cancer Research UK, as well as the oncology department at the NHS Scotland, apart from the biology department, also chemistry department at the university. So this kind of collaboration is vital to broaden your not only knowledge, but also your network. You can go on to the next slide, please, Sister Nadia. So before I go on further, sharing stories about the experience and challenges I have in the UK, just let me share what I have gone through before being where I am right now. So I started sending out job applications during my final year of PhD. So we have, it is always best to start early, right? I have applied to at least 30 jobs and received 7 calls for interview, namely from industry and also startup companies. I also have applied postdoctoral researcher position at universities. So the success rate was about 20%, which for me was not too bad, because compared to some other friends, PhD graduates from the same university, they are actually still struggling to be called for interviews. And they are, mind you, not Asian, so they are most of them either white male or white females. So as always, I was the only candidate, the only female candidate in all the interviews. So as Dr. Amani also mentioned earlier on in the first round, it is not just an issue in Malaysia, but it is actually a global issue, right? And I remember being told of the disadvantages of getting hired. Being a female, non-European, non-British, furthermore a Muslim and wearing a hijab. But that never put me off. And in fact, it has actually made me stronger to prove that these people, they are wrong. So for your information, I know one Malaysian junior is a he, and he's also an engineering graduate with a master's degree. So he has actually sent over 100 of applications a day, and to the point that it almost came to 1,000 actually before he was being offered a position in Manchester down in England. So one more thing that you would need to bear in mind when you are applying to jobs. So when you have been called for the interviews, it means that you already have the qualification. So what is left is you yourself as a person in front of the interviewers. So it is how you present yourself, your attitude, and like the previous speakers have already mentioned, Sister Rohaiza, Sister Wahida, and also Dr. Amani, your character, right? Your character, your determination, your preparedness, and also your versatility, like how you bring yourself, right? Next slide, please, Sister Nadia. So I am currently engaged with CTDI in Glenrothes, working as an applications development engineer. So I have made a tough decision to return back to the industry after spending about 4 years in research. But then I believe that scientific research is not just about working in labs. So it is more of a sharing the knowledge in a broader real life situation, and in particular, the sustainable industrial development that we have right now, and also the fourth industrial revolution. So with great hope that my decision will enable me to enhance further my interest, to integrate the skills that I already have to a broader range of prospects, particularly in test equipment and also communications platform. So we have come to the final slide. Can you click to the next slide, please, Sister Nadia? All right. So being a woman, and mind you, being the only Muslim in the workplace, as you can see in my photo, is indeed very, very challenging. And Alhamdulillah, my director, he really understands me and respects me as a Muslim. So in the first week of work, I remember informing him that I have to perform my prayers during working hours. So instead of just giving me his consent, he actually went on further and in fact provided me a dedicated prayer space specifically during the working hours. So even during working, my colleagues who are definitely not Muslims, they're all white males, they have the conscience to actually remind me about my prayers. So it's not that it's very shameful. Sebab kita kan ada cuti. So alhamdulillah, I'm very lucky to have amazing colleagues and co-workers. And yeah, as you can see, they are like, we are 8 of us, and then 7 males, I'm the only female, and they actually give me this great strength and inspiration. So these are the people who actually keep me going during all of these challenging years. So the respects that I earned from my colleagues is totally priceless. And as I've said in the first question of the forum, do not let the environment change you. So it is you yourself that should actually change the environment. So if you are able to make the influence, then you are actually successful. Because I always believe that in any work environment, we should make our influence felt. And at the same time, make it more cohesive and conducive. So for the record, actually, the job that I am doing at present, it has nothing to do with my PhD field of research. So no cancer, no cell culture, no whatsoever. So in doing your job, you have to be versatile, right? When you have fallen into the unknown world, you have to be creative and also resourceful. So just gain as much knowledge in the new job as fast as possible and acquire new skills where necessary. And my current job involved the development of automated test applications for routers, which is totally alien to me. So I have to acquire as much knowledge and learn new programming languages, which are unheard of during my university days, because we just know about C, C++, and also Java back then. And Alhamdulillah, Scotland is actually a country where its people can be said to be very understanding and hospitable. So they offer opportunities to anyone who qualifies regardless of the gender, race, and religion. So I have no problem with my colleagues at work, alhamdulillah, and whenever I'm at a meeting or conference, they also will listen piously and respect my opinions as well as views. And so yeah, there is definitely no discrimination of gender or race. I even have had an experience during my PhD studies where in one conference that I presented, so there was a leading professor, Professor Stephen Salter. So he came to me to express his interest in my research. And he even invited me to his place, saying that he would like me to visit and to see his wife, because he would like to have his wife to be one of my samples from my research. So what is important here, what is important to them is our knowledge and abilities. So as a Muslim woman in a foreign country, it is certainly no doubt that it is very, very challenging. So we have to work harder and smarter in order to stand out from others, especially the men, just like the other speakers have already mentioned. Right. That's from me. Thank you, Sister Nadia.
Thank you, Dr. Nadira. I believe that having a good support from your colleagues are also important for us to continue our career path. Again, thank you so much to all our speakers for the great sharing session with all of us. Now we will have a quick Q&A session. If you have any questions, you can also open the mic to ask or write in the chat box. All right, we have the first question coming in from the chat box. Is there any discrimination when women become engineer? Any of our panelists wanted to ask this question? Dr. Nurahida, you want to answer the question?
Okay. The question is there any discrimination when women become an engineer? There I can be admit there is a discrimination, but you yourself push yourself and show your capability is the main thing that you need to put in yourself. Show that you are capable to do things. What I mean by capable to do things is you need to equip your knowledge. For example, don't talk something that you don't know. If you talk something that you don't know, you will show people that you doesn't know, and you are trying to talk something which is not realistic, which is not reasonable. So equip your knowledge, push yourself, and what you need to know, what you need to be first is before you try to argue, before you try to argue with men, you equip yourself. You need to do your own research, learning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nurahida, for your answer just now. Next,
Nadia, I don't have doctor. I'm just
Oh.
Wahida.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for that. All right, next question we have, what criteria women engineers should have in order to receive respect from majority of opposite gender colleagues? Maybe we have, Dr. Nadira to answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you. So in order to gain respect from other colleagues, mainly your male colleagues, you have to equip yourself with new knowledge and also skills. Just like I think Sister Wahida have just mentioned, you have to learn new skills because female engineers have to be in a better position as compared to male engineers, and my experience has already proven that. So just equip yourself with new knowledge and also skills. And also you have to polish your soft skills as well, and as well as interpersonal skills. There's a lot more to it, because you have to be outstanding compared to the men.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Nadira. Next question is there any tips or advice when we feel downgraded by our friend or classmate?
Dr. Manilah answer this question.
Okay,
I was a lecturer before, and always students come with this male, female students, okay, and dealing also with my company, with the young people who's working in my company. I feel stupid lah, people downgrade me and so forth, okay. So how do you handle that when you're being downgraded and so forth by your colleagues? Number one, one golden advice given to me to create anything great in this world and to do contribution in this world is number one is to not listen to people who are the naysayers. This is number one, okay? Because if we keep listening to people, especially the naysayers, cannot do this, cannot do that, you are stupid, you are this, until forever, right? You cannot grow. Number one, put that aside, okay? Number one. However, number two, that's why there's a saying about muhasabah. Like, what does a muhasabah means? Meaning that if there are people who saying, okay, you are this and you are that, and repeatedly putting us down, look into ourselves and said, how do I become a better version of myself, right? Is there something that I can improve, or is it something that I can overcome to become a better person, okay? Or is it the way I project myself to others that result in people stating certain things, especially there's two things when people talk about you. Number one is it a personal attack, or is it more of on your work, okay? So there's two things. If it's on your work, say for example, your colleague said, look, your work is this sloppy and so forth, you don't come on time and so forth, then you have to reflect, muhasabah, and said, maybe I should improve on my time management, right? Maybe I can do something better. Now, if it's a personal attack of something that you know that that is misunderstood, or you the type that doesn't fit in with the many people in your group, okay, maybe it is high time for you to basically, okay, reach out more to people to tell about yourself, or to find a better group and role models of people to work with. Okay, so for me, do not make what people said to you as a hindrance. Okay, take it as a challenge for you to better yourself. Jangan hati tisu. Hati tisu ni mudah terasa. People said sikit dah terus terasa. You know, put that away. I think it's a lot in our culture. This always feeling offended by suggestions and so forth. You know. But at the same time, try to be a better person. Okay, when people are not kind to you, be kinder. When people are harsh to you, you become wiser. So I think just always try to be a better person, because guess what? Always when you are a better person and you are more professional in your dealings with people, it's more respected and followed. Okay, than being emotional and putting things without thinking. Try to be someone who is reasonable, open, professional. So I think that's Dr. Amani's advice to the student who asked this question. Okay, all right, thanks.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Amani, for answering the questions. Next, we have which skills do you believe to be the most important to have as an engineer? What are the challenges of working as an engineer? Maybe can we have Dr. Rohaiza to answer that question? Sister Rohaiza, I'm sorry.
Can you repeat the question? Which one of the question?
Which skills do you believe to be the most important to have as an engineer? And what are the challenges of working as an engineer?
Okay, so like I mentioned in my presentation just now, you have to see once at one time you need to upskill yourself, meaning that just Nadira said just now, you must have the soft skills, and actually you have to tackle the non-technical part also. Okay, there is one tip. Here's one tip. Male engineer is very lousy in the non-technical part. This is facts. Okay, so meaning to say that they are very good in the doing the technical part, but they can be very lousy in the project management, can be very lousy in the financial control. So this is the part where we as the lady engineer to come in. So like during my experience in the project management, because one project you see that you have technical, you have financial, you have this legal requirement, these three things to make one project to be success. So normally the male engineer will focus on the technical part. They will try to solve the problem with the technical part, but they sometimes foresee about the things that non-technical, which is what about the legal part? What about the financial? Who's going to control the financial? Because you must remember that you have this quality, your financial timeline. So these three things that we need to control for a project. So these three things that we as a female engineer, that we are born to be like very specific. You know, we have that kind of we read one by one the requirement, we read one by one of the legal requirements, so that thing is to help to make sure the project is success. So in this case, that's the thing that we as lady engineer, female engineer, can offer to make the things success. Okay, so that's the gap between male engineer and female engineer that we can fill in. Okay, so we find, like just now we say, how we want to gain their trust. Okay, first you observe how they work, and then you find where is the gap, and then you try to find the solution between the gaps. You try to fill in. You participate. Okay, participate means that you give your idea. You say, oh, I'm not sitting here in the meeting to listen as like what you call it, pantong cendana. You know, you just sit there doing nothing, but actually you are digesting, and then you give your opinion. and you act upon that. And one thing just one important, just I think all the panel just said is about the time management. It's very important. Please, I would say that time management not only to respect the time of deadline, respect the time of meetings, all those things, because it looks very simple, but actually it gives very impact to others, you know, because if you did not take serious on the deadline, the project will delay. Or you not take serious during for meeting, you wasted other people time. So as I think, since we are from IIUM, so please bear in mind, we always say wal'as. So take that thing is very important. So that one is the time management is very crucial part. Okay, so if you have this attitude, you are good, you willing to learn, especially when during your first job, you have this willingness to learn new things and how to contribute, participate, not only involve, participate means you contribute something to the organization. That's very good enough. Okay, so that once you have that kind of a positive attitude, positive contribution, then you will gain the respect from the others, especially the men. Okay, that's from me.
Thank you so much, Sister Rahaiza. Moving on to, I believe this is our last question from YouTube live chat. How to be confident whether our field, engineering, that we choose are the best for us, and how to gain confidence, because sometimes I think I can't go with this course, but at the same time, it's really interesting.
I think I can answer that
Thank you,
question.
Sister Rahaiza.
As I mentioned before, when you took engineering, when you choose your majoring, you need to be clear. You need to understand what are engineering and technology. And it is the best for future engineer students now, especially in third year and fourth year, to have a clear understanding of their job scope, to have the clear understanding of job scope that you choose. For example, you are majoring in biotechnology, what are the job scope? You are majoring in communication, what are the job scope? It is very important for you to adapt to the environment that you are choosing. When you understand, you can adapt. So you can adapt, and then this is what we encourage women right now. You need to understand. When you understand, you can adapt. When you adapt, we don't want in future when you graduate. This is what we don't want. And then we try to avoid future disappointment, because sometimes when you graduate, I cannot find job, because you don't really understand what are you doing, what are you choosing. So the main thing right now, fully understand and also take a one step. My advice is to take a one step to in knowing your future employer. It is about time when you already in fourth year or in the third year doing your internship, is take this opportunity, take a one step, knowing your future employer, and also appreciate the one that the university already offering to you, the internship opportunity. Internship, the 3 months that you are being internship to the industry, you fully utilize the internship. For example, if we as an engineer, we can see a lot of students come to have an internship. But when you fully utilize your internship means asking question, participate, because we see there are also internship students doesn't receive much feedback after that, because during the internship you are shy, you are not proactive, you are doesn't make any networking. So use the one that university offering to you. Take the opportunity, appreciate the internship program. For example, when you want to, when you are in the third year, you choose, you can already foresee, oh, I want to be internship in this company. But it's okay. It's okay if you are not selected. But make sure you are doing good during your internships and be yourself. Thank you.
Inshallah. Thank you so much, Sister Dorahida. And thank you to all of our participants who have asked the questions. And a big appreciation to all of our speakers for making time to join us on this lovely afternoon to share their experiences and stories. It does indeed enlighten us about our future careers in the industry. Before we end our session, let us take some pictures to remember this memorable event. It would be great if everyone can turn on their camera and smile brightly. All right, are you ready?